Okay, class. So this is supposed to be a very quick idea to let you know what we plan to do for next week. So I want you to look at our simple idea what we plan to do in the next activity. Now the very beginning thing is that next week we're going to study about the chapter 3, which is about the gain from trade. So it's very important for you to know how to find a way to make sure you know what to trade with each other and to be able to gain the product from doing trade. So this is how I create this kind of simulation, which is helping everyone to okay, at least you go to read the book in advance, and at the same time we do a little bit competitions of those any group who can figure it out or find the number or be able to solve the problem first, you will get some kind of bonus score or incentive. So at that day I will divide you into pair and I will post this file on that day. But this video will help to give you some idea in advance and you can explore it by looking at the book, and this will help you more when you do the actual simulation on the actual day. So I would suggest that everyone would try to watch this video before we come to class, and we don't have much time to talk about it while we are inside the class. So I assume that once we start this activity, everyone will have the idea in mind. Now in here, the concept of what you're going to study here was likely going to link a lot to the concept of production possibility frontier, which I have already posted another video for you in advance. So I hopefully that you have already watched that. If not, if you're not clear with it, I suggest you go back and check it to get more idea about this concept. So I don't want to explain or repeat many times about all of those things. Now, the concept in here is that there's two kinds of the way to gain from trade. One is using the concept of absolute advantage. The other one is about the comparative advantage. I want you go back to look inside the book and figure it out how can you gain from trade through both methods. And it's simply the way that you need to know. There's only two things that most likely at that day you require to find out. One thing is that based on the absolute advantage, with the information that you get here, you can see that there's two kind of products with the two countries that we have both sides. They have a different okay ability to create product differently for both sides. They require to use their resources. Our resources, let's say we use in terms of money, and the resource that's spent to create each product are required to use differently. And in this case, you can see that if you have all of this information, simply how can you define that which country should produce which kind of product. So we have two kind of products. It's supposed to be a rice and a computer. And simply if you check here, there is a combination of all kind of product within that limited amount of resources that I have already listed for everyone. So you don't need to calculate, you don't need to figure it out and try to plot all of this in graph. Everything is already been assigned for you. The only thing that you need to figure it out is about which kind of the product that the country should depend on. And in this case, you will see that if you decide to, let's say that A will decide to create rice, most likely you will pick around at the top here because they create the most amount of rice inside the country. While if you decide to say that B should be the one who create the computer, maybe they will be the one who pick the number in here. Now let's see how you can play around with all of these things. The very beginning is that there's only a few things that you can just only type. Simply is here that you can start to write down to take note that which country should create which product. You can type in here. But simply if you try to type in other things, you will see that it will not allow you to do that. Any information that you try to type here, they will not allow you to do. So there's only a few options for you to try, and then you can see what happening inside here. Now the very beginning that I want you to see is that, let's say that I change everything from the start. So let's say that this is the original position that we start our okay, our simulation. And when you go to pair, you need to figure it out among the two. To find out first thing is which product that both sides need to produce. And after that, you need to figure it out about the ideas of how many amount of items should you trade with each other. Now you see inside the graph, we have this line here which represent the production possibility frontier, and then we have the orange dot. This orange dot is supposed to be something that talk about or show you the actual amount of the product that you could get before trade, and then later on what can you get after trade. So this is the amount of the total product that you can get, is the this orange dot. And what you need to do here is that it's very simple. You can type only two among this one, inside export and before trade. Any other information you try to type, and it will not allow you to do it. So simply you can just copy and paste any information. Like I mentioned, if you decided to let A create rice, maybe you can say that if you create 0 computer, and then how many rice? 1000 kilogram of rice. And then if you decided to let B is the one who create computer, then you say that maybe you want to pick this position. B will create a certified computer and 5 kilogram of rice. Now we already set here. You can see that the yellow dot will start to move around this graph whenever you change the number. But this is not the end of the day, of our activity. Our goal is I want you to figure it out about the number of computer and rice that you should trade with each other. Now, for instance, if that country A create up to 1000 rice, so you cannot trade computer, you cannot export computer because you have 0 computer. So the only thing that you can export is supposed to be the rice. So let's say that you try to export rice to B, you trade around 100 kilogram of rice. And for B, they produce most of the computer. So then they will start to export back, exchange how many amount of computer to exchange with 100 kilogram of rice. Maybe they decided to exchange for let's say 5 computer. Okay, so you can see that if we try to create something like this, you can see this is the number that simply you can check here. Okay, the dot, and whatever we want to make sure is that whenever which country should produce any kind of the product, and at the end of the day, how can we make sure that the product is supposed to be outside. So I want everyone started to explore around, and if you can make like this, both item is moving outside of production possibility frontier, then it would be the best scenario. But it's not only this one option. You need to figure it out of any other option. But if I decide to change, let's say that I decide to trade 50 rice with let's say with 5 computer. Now you can see that whenever you try to play around, and when you see that one side that have the production possibility frontier, the dot here is moving outside, meaning that country A, they are better off. But in this situation, country B, after trade, they are worse off than before. So in this situation, we're saying that trade doesn't make everybody gain. And the only way that I want you to figure it out is about the range, or the way that how can we export or import the product with each other. At the end of the day, it makes both countries gain from trade. And the idea of gain from trade is that both countries could find the final point of the trade is above the production possibility frontier for both sides. So meaning that after trade, you can create more product than what you can do by yourself if you don't do trade. So this is simply, I suggest you go to read the book and use this information here with the idea of opportunity cost, which most likely going to involve a lot in the study of the comparative advantage, and to find out the range of the rate of trade. This is some hint for you to go and look at it. So simply go to read the book in advance. And if you get those ideas, I'm sure that you can figure it out the answer very quickly. So I hopefully that we can be able to learn something from this simulation, and hope everybody could be able to play around, and after that you can learn more from this. Okay, so good luck everyone, and see you next week.